Yesterday, an article was published that gave the findings to an American Psychological Association research study into traditional masculinity. And this study concluded, among other things, that traditional masculinity can, and these are their words, be harmful to men and boys. Now, as you read the article and you understand the study and some of what the study's authors said, overall it really wasn't terrible. Their conclusion was that many of the harmful aspects of what are grouped in this idea of masculinity can be damaging. Things like excessive drinking, drug use, illicit behaviors, and dangerous behaviors, and a lot of those things that we might throw into the category of masculinity. They talked about things like young men being taught to suppress their feelings or to simply push through difficult situations, and on it went. You can go read the article if you'd like to. As I read it, though, and I looked at some of the discussion around it, I really reflected on much of what I've been a part of over the last several years, what our organization, the Mighty Oaks Foundation, is involved in. And in our men's programs, the programs that we have for veterans and active duty service members, first responders, we have men's programs and we have women's programs. In our men's programs, one of the things that we deal with and one of the things we talk about often is this idea of masculinity. We might say it this way: what does it mean to be a man? And many times I've stood in front of a group full of men's men, a room full of guys who have served in the military or in law enforcement capacities or other maybe first responders capacities. And these are the guys you look at, guys who have been in combat, men who have been in very difficult life situations and have overcome in a lot of ways. And I'll stand there and I'll ask them a question similar to this, or one of the other guys on our team would ask a question similar to this. What does it mean to be a man? Or how do you define manhood? And going with the theme of this article, we could say it this way: what does it mean to be masculine? I've asked this question and then gone around the room and had people give answers or quoted different people who have talked about masculinity and manhood. And really the problem, and this article did their best to get to it, and the study tried to understand what it is that's harmful about masculinity. The problem is not masculinity. The problem is an inappropriate or improper definition of masculinity. The Apostle Paul, even in the New Testament, gave the declaration to leadership to be strong, to stand like men, to be strong as men. And we need strong men in our society. We need men that understand what it is to be men. We need men who are willing to stand up even when it's hard and lead their families and lead in our communities. We need men that are masculine. What we don't need, however, are males who believe that masculinity is something that it's not. Really, we understand that we were created. And those who were created with a design. Women were created with a design given to them by their Creator. Men, likewise, were given a design by their Creator. And the problem with masculinity is not masculinity. The problem with masculinity is not the design or the designer. The problem is that we don't understand what it actually means to be a man. We don't understand what it means to truly be masculine. What does it mean? Again, we could go to the Bible and look at that blueprint that's been given to all of us to understand how we were created and why we were created and what we were created to do. And true masculinity, the kind that we were created with, is a masculinity that understands, as a man, I need to be responsible for my actions. As a man, I need to be someone who is willing to stand up and do the hard things. I need to have a soft heart, one that is sensitive to others, sensitive to my children and sensitive to my spouse and sensitive to the needs of others. I need to be able to feel because God gave me emotion. I need to be able to respond to the things that require an emotional response. But I should not be driven by emotion. Although I have a soft and sensitive heart, I need to have an exterior that is willing to be hard, that is willing to do things that require diligence, that require pushing through, if you will. To be a man means doing what is best for others, doing the right thing, even when it's hard to do. You see, the problem is not masculinity. The problem is that so many men are trying to hit a target that they can't see. And because of that, they're defining masculinity according to their own experience instead of according to the blueprint that they've been given by their Creator. I read that article with interest, and honestly, I thought the headline was more controversial than the actual findings of the study. But the real problem is not masculinity. The real problem is that we live in a world full of adult males who don't know what it is to be men. And my encouragement, and the encouragement I've given many, many times, is be men. Men of compassion, men of a soft heart, men who care, men who are willing to do the hard things, though, when no one else will. Men who are willing to stand up, and men who are willing to lead. Don't be childish. Don't be silly. Be men and take on the mantle of responsibility and leadership that's been given to us by our Creator.